The planet had no official name anymore. On old star maps it was marked with numbers and warning symbols, but most pilots simply called it quiet ground. Few ships ever landed there. Fewer stayed. The man liked it that way. Every morning, he woke before the artificial sun rose over the gray hills. He lived in a small metal house near a broken trade road, a place once meant for cargo convoys that never came again. His workshop was attached to the house, filled with old engines, cracked panels, and machines from many worlds. He repaired what others abandoned. He fixed things that no longer mattered to the galaxy. People in nearby settlements knew him as a silent mechanic. He spoke little, worked honestly, and never asked questions. No one knew where he came from. No one knew why his eyes always looked tired, even when he smiled. Long ago, the galaxy knew his name very well. Back then, stars burned with war. Entire systems shook under the movement of fleets. Aliens of many kinds fought over space, resources, and pride. Humanity had entered that war later than most, underestimated and poorly understood. At first, humans were seen as weak. They were smaller. Their ships were simpler. Their weapons were not the most advanced. But humans learned. They watched how others fought. They studied patterns. They adapted. Where alien empires relied on fixed rules and rigid commands, humans changed tactics in the middle of battle. Where others feared loss, humans accepted sacrifice. Where others fought for control, humans fought for survival. The man had been at the center of that storm. He was not the strongest soldier nor the fastest pilot. What made him feared was his mind. He understood fear better than most species. He knew when to strike, when to wait, and when mercy would hurt an enemy more than destruction. Under his planning, human forces broke sieges thought impossible. They turned retreats into victories. They ended battles without wiping out entire worlds. Slowly, painfully, the war tilted, and then it ended, not with celebration but with silence. Too many lives had been lost. Too many planets were scarred. Humans had won the war, but the cost weighed heavily on them. The man stood among the ruins of a burned command station and felt no pride, only exhaustion. That was the day he decided to stop. He took his weapons, the ones that had shaped legends and nightmares alike, and buried them beneath the soil of quiet ground. He chose a world no one cared about, far from politics and history. He erased his name, cut all official ties, and disappeared. The galaxy moved on without him. Years passed. Empires rewrote the war in their favor. Some claimed humans had been lucky. Others said humans were dangerous beasts best avoided. Humanity itself turned inward, focusing on rebuilding rather than expansion. The man fixed engines. He learned the slow rhythms of peace. He learned how to live with memories without letting them control him. Some nights he dreamed of burning skies and distant screams, but most mornings he woke calm. He believed he had paid enough. That belief was tested on a night when the storm came. The wind howled across the hills, throwing dust and metal scraps against his workshop walls. Lightning flashed across the dark sky, turning the land white for brief moments. He was closing the heavy doors when a strange sound cut through the storm. A scream, not mechanical, not animal, alive. He froze, listening. The scream came again, weaker this time, followed by a crash that shook the ground. Somewhere beyond the ridge, something had fallen from the sky. He stood still for a long moment. This planet was not part of any major route. Crashes were rare. And when they happened, they were usually unmanned cargo pods or broken probes. Helping meant involvement. Involvement meant questions. He almost went back inside. Then the scream came again, filled with fear so raw it cut through him. With a quiet curse, he grabbed a light and stepped into the storm. The wreck lay half buried in the dirt, its surface cracked and smoking. It was small, barely a ship at all, more like an escape pod. The metal was scorched, symbols melted beyond recognition. Sparks jumped from broken wires. Near the opening, a figure lay motionless. She was small, even by human standards. Her skin shimmered faintly under the light, colored in soft tones that shifted with the storm. Thin markings ran along her arms and face, glowing weakly. She was breathing but barely. As he approached, her eyes snapped open. They were wide, dark, and filled with terror. She tried to crawl away, dragging herself through the mud. Her movements were weak, uncoordinated. She was injured badly. "Easy," he said softly, holding his hands up. His voice was calm, practiced. "I'm not here to hurt you." She stopped, staring at him. Her breathing was fast and uneven. Then her gaze sharpened, focusing on his face, his posture, the way he stood despite the storm. Her eyes widened further. "It's you," she whispered in broken trade speech. He frowned. You have the wrong person. She shook her head, struggling to sit up. No, I saw records, stories, the way you move, the stillness. You are him. He felt a chill that had nothing to do with the rain. I don't know who you think I am, he said, but you're hurt. You need shelter. She laughed weakly, a sound halfway between relief and disbelief. You buried yourself, she said, just like the stories said. That made his chest tighten. He carried her back to his workshop, ignoring the storm soaking them both. He laid her on a clean surface, activated old medical equipment he hadn't used in years, and worked quickly. Her injuries were serious but not fatal. Burns, impact damage. Exhaustion beyond measure. She watched him the entire time, never closing her eyes. You're safe here, he said finally. For now, she replied. Hours passed. The storm faded. The artificial sun rose slowly, casting pale light through the workshop windows. The alien girl finally slept. When she woke again, the man was sitting nearby, drinking water and staring at the wall. He sensed her movement before she spoke. You didn't turn me in, she said. There's no one to turn you into, he answered. She pushed herself up, wincing. They will come, he met her gaze. Who? The coalition, she said. They hunt my people, he sighed. Many groups hunt many others, that's not my problem. Her expression hardened. It was once. Silence stretched between them. Finally, he said, talk. She told him everything. Her species had never been warriors. They valued memory, knowledge, and healing. When the coalition began expanding, her people were marked as weak and unnecessary. Their worlds were taken, their cities emptied, their culture erased piece by piece. She had been chosen to escape because she carried data, records of the old war, records that showed what humans truly were. Not monsters, not conquerors, but protectors who ended conflict instead of spreading it. The coalition fears you, she said quietly. Not your weapons. Your choices, he shook his head. You're wrong. Humans stepped away because fighting only creates more suffering. She leaned forward despite the pain. And letting evil grow creates more. He stood abruptly. I won't do this again. She slid off the table and to his shock knelt before him. Her movements were slow but determined. I beg you, she said, not as a legend, as a human. The word hit harder than any accusation. I buried that life, he said. I'm done. She looked up at him, eyes shining. Then why do you still live like a soldier hiding in peace? He had no answer. She rose unsteadily and walked toward the door. If you truly don't care, she said, then let me go. I will die somewhere else. He watched her leave. The workshop felt emptier than it ever had. Outside, she paused and turned back one last time. One question, she said. If humans are truly different, why did you stop caring? Then she walked into the pale light of morning. The man stood alone, staring at the ground beyond the workshop. Beneath that soil lay weapons untouched for years. For the first time in a long time, the quiet felt heavy. And deep inside him, something he thought was buried began to stir. The man did not sleep that night. He sat on a low stool inside his workshop, staring at the closed doors long after the alien girl disappeared into the morning light. The tools around him were silent. The machines he usually fixed felt distant, unimportant. His thoughts kept returning to her question. Why did you stop caring? He told himself he had cared enough for one lifetime. He had watched worlds burn and people disappear. He had made choices that saved millions and still haunted him. Walking away had been the only way to survive. But now the quiet did not bring peace. It pressed on him, heavy and sharp. As the artificial sun climbed higher, a faint signal reached his old receiver. It was weak, almost lost in background noise. He had not powered that device in years. His hand hovered over it before he even realized what he was doing. The signal repeated. It was not a call for help, it was a tracking pulse. They found her, he whispered. Without thinking further, he grabbed a coat and stepped outside. The alien girl had not gone far. She was sitting on a rock near the ridge, her shoulders slumped, her breathing uneven. When she saw him approach, her eyes widened not with hope but with surprise. You came, she said. Sit, he replied. You're not healed. She obeyed without argument. He scanned the horizon. Far away, the sky shimmered unnaturally. Ships would arrive soon. You should have stayed hidden, he said. She smiled sadly. Hiding is how my people disappeared. He closed his eyes for a moment. Then he spoke words he had not planned to say. Come back inside. Her expression changed instantly. He did not dig up the weapons that day. Instead, he activated systems long dormant. Old maps filled the workshop screens, star routes, supply lines, coalition patrol zones. He studied them with a calm focus that felt disturbingly familiar. The alien girl watched quietly. "You said you would not fight," she said. "I didn't say I wouldn't think," he replied. He learned quickly what the coalition had become. Strong, yes, but careless. They relied on size and fear. They believed humans were finished, tired, broken by guilt. That belief was their weakness. He began teaching the alien girl small things, how to move quietly, how to hide signals, how humans used unpredictability as a shield. She learned fast, not with strength, but with understanding. "You don't need to be powerful," he told her. "You need to be impossible to predict." That night, the first coalition scout arrived. It hovered above the hills, scanning the land with cold precision. The man did not attack it. He let it see just enough. A trace of old human signal code, a shadow of movement. Then he vanished again. The scout retreated. Across the stars, alerts spread. Humans were not supposed to be here. The man sent a single message into deep space. It was not a command. It was a memory. He sent coordinates, old phrases, quiet signals only humans would recognize. Days passed. The coalition grew nervous. Patrols increased. Their ships circled but never landed. They expected resistance, anger, threats. They got silence. Then the humans arrived, not fleets, not armies. Ships dropped from hyperspace one by one, small, civilian-modified, medical transports, cargo vessels repurposed for rescue. Engineers, medics, thinkers, and planners stepped onto quiet ground. They looked ordinary. But they carried the same choice. The alien girl watched in awe as humans worked together without orders shouted or banners raised. They shared food. They built shelters. They asked about her people, her history, her pain. "They came," she whispered. "They always do," the man replied. The coalition attacked 3 days later. Their ships filled the sky, dark and imposing. They broadcast a message demanding surrender. The man listened calmly, then cut the transmission. The humans did not panic. They moved. Traps activated across the terrain. Not explosive, not deadly, confusing. Systems failed. Sensors lied. Communication broke down. Coalition forces advanced into chaos they could not understand. Human teams adapted instantly, changing plans without hesitation. They rescued prisoners. They guided civilians away. They shut down command ships without destroying them. The man walked into the center of it all. He did not wear armor. He did not carry his old weapons. He carried a simple device built from scrap and insight. The coalition commander confronted him through a projection. "You were supposed to be gone," the commander hissed. "I was," the man replied, "until you reminded us why we matter." "You could rule," the commander said. "Why protect weakness?" The man looked at the alien girl standing behind him, no longer kneeling, no longer afraid. "Because strength that only serves itself is already dying," he said. The coalition retreated. They left behind fear, confusion, and a new understanding. The galaxy watched. News spread quickly. Humans had returned not as conquerors but as shields. Other species began reaching out. Old enemies hesitated. Old lies cracked. When it was over, the man stood again on quiet ground. He watched the humans depart, each to their own lives. The alien girl approached him. "What now?" she asked. He walked to the place where his weapons lay buried. He did not dig them up. He placed a marker instead. "They stay here," he said. "Not because we fear them, because we no longer need them." She smiled. "Will you come with me?" He shook his head gently. "My fight is finished. Yours is just beginning." She became an ambassador, carrying the story of humans across the stars, not legends of violence, but proof of choice. The man returned to his workshop. The quiet returned too. But this time it felt light, and across the galaxy one truth settled into every mind that feared humanity. Humans were never finished. They were simply waiting for a reason worthy enough to stand again.